So yes, Dr. Morgus was on New Orleans television for many years in the 1960s, and then reruns in the 70s, and he even came back in the early 80s and did more programming. That was Mr. Sid Noel, who was the brains behind Morgus the Magnificent. And Alfred, I'm not sure if you're listening to this. Let's bring Alfred back. Alfred, can you tell us a little bit about the history of Morgus the Magnificent in New Orleans television?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to, Edward. So Morgus the Magnificent is quite a legendary figure in New Orleans television history. As you mentioned, he was portrayed by Sid Noel, and he first appeared in the late 1950s, and then became a real staple through the 60s. Basically, Morgus was this eccentric, mad scientist host of a horror movie show. He'd do these little skits and experiments between the films, and it really became a beloved piece of vocal culture. They brought him back a few times over the decades, like you said, in the 70s and 80s, and he just became one of those iconic local TV personalities that people still remember really fondly. So it's a great bit of history, and it's awesome that you're bringing that up on the show.
Let me tell you a quick story. You know, I can remember this very vividly. When this movie library that I had just mentioned, it's on channel 7.2, the catalog of the old films, when we got that in the 90s, late 90s, one day I got a phone call, and it was Mr. Sid Noel, Morgus, and he told me that they were doing a revival of the old Morgus project, and they needed films for the wraparound for a new presentation that was going to be aired on Cox Cable in the New Orleans market, and he had heard that I had these old films. And I said, yes, sir, I do. Now, for me personally, that was like a big moment because, of course, you know, I had never met Mr. Sid Noel Morgus, but I had watched him my whole life growing up, and I was a fan my whole life. And so the story evolved where he came to Jackson, where I lived, and he met me, and we had lunch, and we did a deal on our old films where those old films now became the films that Morgus was wrapped around. So my childhood hero, basically, and I were working together. So that was in the, let's say, probably the late 90s. Well, anyway, we worked together on various projects with those films through the years, and that is why we've got the capability to air the Morgus project, because he and I became friends, and we started doing things together. Anyway, Mr. Sid Noel died about 3 years ago, I believe it is now, and he was about 90 years old or thereabouts. And it was a great honor for me to have met him and to have worked with him a little bit. You know, such a legendary broadcast figure as Sid Noel, Dr. Morgus. So anyway, that's my little story about Dr. Morgus. So we are bringing him back at 4 p.m. on Ocean 7, Monday through Friday. I hope a whole new generation of young people will be able to see Dr. Morgus and appreciate his hijinks.